Well, hey everybody, John Redlin here, and this is hashtag Ask for Honesty, episode 7, Double or Nothing themed edition here, since I'm recording this a day after Double or Nothing, and there's a lot of questions a lot of people have in regards to whether I think the fans are going a little too crazy, if the company can maintain its momentum, what it can do to improve, and how much competition it can be to WWE. People have asked stuff like that. It's centered in a whole bunch of these questions, and there are other questions. But if you want to send a question, please comment below this video. I will include it in next week's edition, which I will have up sometime Thursday afternoon. Or hit me up in DM on Twitter if you can, or check the tweet that I put up in my pinned tweet as my pinned tweet. Tuesday night, Wednesday mornings, use the hashtag AskForHonesty, wrestling, music, or movie-related questions, and do that. But anyway, I got a bunch of questions to dive through. So here we go. And some of these questions may turn into full-fledged rants for future videos, just so you know. So if I touch on them but don't expand on them too much, don't worry, I may touch on them on rants in June. Anyway, so we have Frank Art 42. Always love talking to this guy. Great guy to talk to. Why do WWE and AEW fans hate each other? Basically because, much like sports team fans, and whether it's baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, or football, or the NFL, or whatever, you're going to have people pissed at each other and everything. Instead of getting along, they're just going to be in this whole rivalry. Now, I think everybody can agree that competition is good, alternatives are good, and really that's just what a lot of fans want. There are fans that are in the middle that like both companies, that want to see both companies succeed. Unfortunately, there are going to be people, and I hate to use the term marks, but there are people that are marks on both sides that just don't want to let the other side have nice things. And it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-sided issue. That's just it's always one side thinks they're right, the other side thinks they're right. It's just people not wanting to let the other side have nice things. Now, some fans on both sides are just fucking cruel as hell. But the bottom line is, why do they hate each other? It's pretty much because people tend to think that WWE fans are stupid, or people think that indie fans or non-WWE fans are stupid. It's really, really bad, because I've been to a lot of indie shows where I've talked to a lot of people that love WWE, but love the indies more. Or vice versa. Or they love all. If you love all wrestling and find what you enjoy, it really shouldn't matter what, being just a fan of one company. You should be able to be a fan of multiple companies. Basically, they're just idiots, essentially, is what the deal is. Kira Johnson, 97. Always enjoy talking to him as well. Honest question. Do you think there's a bias with wrestling when it comes to comedy outside of WWE? For example, Orange Cassidy in the Casino Battle Royal. And that was where he was, kicking, where he was, shin kicking Dreamer, barely and everything, which was kind of funny. At least I believe that was Orange Cassidy. I believe that's who you were referring to. I kind of lost track of some of the names there, but they had stuff like that. They did have comedy with Sonny Kiss, using his ass as a weapon and stuff like that, and some other comedy stuff in the Casino Battle Royal, and on other parts of the show too. Yes, there is a bias, because I'm not debating, because I know that you like some of the comedy in WWE, and whether I agree with you or not, I totally respect your opinion. You and I always can come to a common ground on some of this stuff, even though you like people I don't like, I like people you don't like. We can still have a common ground. So I don't want you to think that I'm, being offensive here, but a lot of times WWE's comedy is super forced. It just seems like in AEW or even New Japan, and New Japan does comedy pretty well in some of their matches, they just seem to be having more fun. They're not restricted so much by such a corporate environment, even though New Japan is owned by a big media company. Ring of Honor is owned by a big media company, but sometimes they can seem to have fun in their matches. AEW, funded by Tony Khan, pretty big billionaire. Pretty fucking big deal. It just seems like everybody's able to have more fun. Going on the indies, being at some indie shows, they can do some comedy and everything and have more fun and feel a little, less restricted like they would in WWE. Now, occasionally, WWE and some of the performers can do comedy pretty well. But there is a stigma that WWE doesn't know how to do comedy. Now, sometimes they do. But often, it really just comes down to a less restrictive nature on, in non-WWE companies. I think that's what it comes to. What comes down to. As far as a bias, yes, I would totally agree there is a bias, but sometimes WWE has kind of earned it. Now, not necessarily the performers. They're just doing what they're told. If they're not allowed to go out there and cut loose and be as hilarious as they can, then the comedy's only going to hit sometimes. But is there a bias? Yes, there is, and I don't think there's really any debate on that. But I don't think the bias is always wrong. I think sometimes it goes too far. Some people go a little too insane with it, but I don't think that it's going too far. And then we go to Noah is safe. How would you book Roman Reigns to Mania? Book it how you would personally enjoy it. Okay, so I thought about this, and it's going to be kind of brief because, as people know, I'm not the biggest fan of Roman Reigns, the wrestler, even though I admit he can have some good matches. So how would you do it? He takes the title from Balor at SummerSlam. He takes the Intercontinental title from Balor at SummerSlam. Okay? Open challenge, open challenge, open challenge. Has the title for a while. He defends it, and say Andrade beats him in December. Andrade wins the Intercontinental title. And then you have Roman Reigns win the WWE Championship. Whoever's holding the championship at, you have him hold the championship at, from the Rumble till Mania. And then you have him drop it to Mustafa Ali. Because I think Ali is somebody that they should definitely push. Now, they could do that, or they could have him win the championship at SummerSlam, kind of switch a little bit heelish, go on a freaking tear until Mania. Ali wins the Rumble and then challenges Reigns and beats him. That's how I would do it. Now I know that sounds a little bit rushed, but there isn't that much you can do with Reigns to keep him interesting, except either Intercontinental title open challenge, from SummerSlam till December where Andrade beats him, or, in December, and then Andrade has a match, whatever, at Mania, or you have him win the title at SummerSlam, beating Kofi or whoever, probably Kofi, going more heelish, darker, he gets corrupted by having the championship and everything, I overcame cancer and everything for you guys, and all you guys can do is still boo me, you want to boo me, well, I'm stronger than you guys, and no one would necessarily believe it because we all know that Reigns is a pretty good guy, but he could do that, and then Ali could finally beat him, slay the beast, slay the big dog, take him down, cut him down to size, and then Reigns could kind of get a little more clear-headed and everything, and Ali could be the up and coming babyface and rise up as champion until the following SummerSlam. So that's how I would do it. There's really only a couple ways you could do it. Those would be ways I would enjoy it. There aren't too many that I could come up with otherwise. And then Brian2358 from YouTube. This is a question he sent in last week on last week's video. Do you agree? Well, actually, a couple days ago. But anyway, do you agree the storylines are the most important things to keep fans interested? That's what's lacking today. No cliffhangers to bring you back next week. What do you think? Pretty much the same. And I totally agree. Even in the Ruthless Aggression era, they had a way to have a cliffhanger. Oh, I gotta see what happens on Raw, SmackDown next week. In the Monday Night Wars, even on Raw, before the Monday Night Wars, they found a way, even though they would tape a whole bunch in a row, to get you hooked and to have you come back, even though it was only an hour show at the time. Nitro would have a way to hook you to get you back. Did it always work? No. Was it silly how they did some of the stuff? Yes. But they had a way to hook you. Even in the Ruthless Aggression era, even in parts of the PG era. By about the time of 2010, 2011, they stopped really doing a lot of that. Now, they did do the Nexus. They would do stuff occasionally to get you to come back. But often it's just like, okay, well, bye, folks, see you next week. And then there'd be no continuity by the time we get there. So I agree 100%. Storyline continuity, which they're trying to rectify a little bit with some of the stuff they're doing, but they're not necessarily able to do it all that well. Even NXT, sometimes their storylines are consistent and then inconsistent. Like you got stuff with the women, or they're not using the women all that well. But yes, I would agree that not having cliffhangers, storyline continuity, all that, they don't have enough good storylines to keep people interested because they don't know how to tell long-term storylines because they're run by a guy that's completely fucking insane and batshit crazy, and as opposed to those not being, pretty much one the same, that has done so many goddamn roids that has poisoned his brain, and he's freaking nuts. He's freaking goddamn nuts. I mean, Vern Gagne is essentially Vince McMahon now. Vince is essentially Vern. Vern McGagne. I believe that's something that TNA Creative came up with, and I believe so. And actually, credit to them for that. Or it's a variation. Please hit me up on Twitter if I got that wrong. But yeah, lack of compelling storylines and cliffhangers is a big, big issue, and they need to get back to doing that. Not for everything. They don't have to do it for every single angle, but do it for enough angles, because otherwise, what the fuck is the point of tuning in? That's another reason why the ratings are falling. Paulie A from YouTube. Now I'm wrestling question for a change. Whose death shocked you more? Brandon Lee, the Crow, Bruce Lee's son, Paul Walker, or Robin Williams? I'm not knocking you. I'm a little uncomfortable answering this one in too much detail. I will say Brandon Lee's was shocking because it was a terrible accident. Paul Walker's because, again, it was also a terrible accident. Robin Williams' death hit me the most. And it hit me the most because, obviously, I did not and do not suffer from the same disease that he was suffering from. But I suffer from depression, anxiety, and a whole bunch of things. And I know that I know how it is. I know how it is to feel suicidal and stuff like that. And that one hit me. That one hit me a lot harder. So I would say that one shocked me the most. But, really they're all equally shocking, especially Brandon Lee and Paul Walker because they were so much younger, especially Brandon Lee. But with Robin Williams, it's just, you never know what's going on below the surface. That's pretty much what, that's pretty much what affected me the most, and also the depression and all that stuff that I just talked about. So I'm sorry if I didn't go into too much detail about it. I have nothing but respect for the fact you asked questions, but I didn't feel comfortable touching on that too much. And Critical Sting from YouTube. What are your fave current wrestling themes and underrated wrestlers, inside and outside of WWE? Current themes, or themes I love, Undisputed Era, led by Adam Cole, baby. I do like Seth Rollins' theme. God, as far... Velveteen Dream, I think Velveteen Dream's got a really cool one. Io Shirai, it's a freaking, J-pop bop. It's just great. There's other ones in WWE that I like. But those would be ones that would stick out. Natty, I like Natty's theme because it reminds me of Brett. And also Natty's managed to make her own, character. Becky, I like Becky's theme. Bayley, I like Bayley's theme. But they need to change up Bayley's theme and look a whole lot quicker. Like, I'm not saying like flip the switch instantly, but they need to, by SummerSlam, it needs to be flipped. Maybe even sooner than that. Outside of WWE, Tomohiro Ishii's theme, Okada's, Tetsuya Naito's, Los Ingobernables de Japón, Shingo Takagi. He's a member of LIJ, and a few others. I like Yuka. Yuka Sakazaki, I think is how you say her name. Yuka, just from all, who appeared on All Elite Wrestling, Double or Nothing. Just a freaking insane theme, but God, freaking just absolutely great theme. Cody Rhodes' theme I like. I like Cody's theme. But those would be some ones. And underrated wrestlers, I really can't think of any. There are too many. There are some that I think people take for granted. I'm going to throw out two from New Japan. Tomohiro Ishii and Hiroki Goto. Hiroki Goto in particular is one that I think they need to appreciate more. Rocky Romero is also one that I think is pretty underappreciated. In WWE, Apollo Crews, Chad Gable. As far as underrated, because it's like people are like, oh, they're good in the ring, but whatever. They can be the complete package. They really can do well, and they just aren't. They just aren't allowed to do all that well. To me, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong are better in the ring than Adam Cole. That's nothing against Adam Cole, but that's just my opinion. I think Riddle's very good in the ring. I don't necessarily care for his character. I really can't think of too many others. I'm sorry if I don't answer your question quite as well as you would have liked, but those are about the only ones I can come up with. Farron's 53, favorite entrance theme from each decade of wrestling. 80s, Hogan, Savage, Flair. Hogan, Savage, Flair. That'd probably be it. And Road Warriors, Iron Man, because the first notes. 90s, Austin, Brett. Austin and Brett actually would probably be it. Rock also, but Austin and Brett. And Foley, Sting. And you could throw Flair in there too, but I would say DDPs. DDPs is probably the one that always got me on my feet. 2000s. I liked Undertaker, rolling as Undertaker's theme. I thought that was by Limp Bizkit. I always like Billy and Chuck's theme. I just always thought it was pretty funny. I can't really think of too many because everything starts to blend together on that. For the women, Trish and Lita's theme would jump out there, in particular from that decade in the 2000s. AJ Styles' original TNA theme. Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe. Motor City Machine Guns, Beer Money. Those would be one. Beer Money in particular. America's Most Wanted. James Storm, by the way, part of two of the best tag teams that's been around for the past 20 years. As far as 2010s, there's a lot. I listed some earlier. I mean, there's just a whole lot of them because theme music has gotten a lot better. I like Jeff Hardy's TNA music, even if a lot of people didn't. I thought it was at least unique and everything. Not RVD's theme. That was pretty shit. CM Punk's theme, Cult Personality. I did like Orton's theme for a while. I don't really care for it now. Daniel Bryan's theme is just tremendous. Kane and Undertaker's though would be like two of the most iconic ones of the last like number of decades. So I would say those. I'm sorry if I didn't get into too much detail on that, but those are the ones that leapt out to me. So we go to Jeremy 8911. Had Jason Jordan not gotten hurt, do you think he would have gotten Corbin's role on Raw? By the way, American Alpha, love that theme, and the Revival. That's going back to Farron 53's question. Would Jason Jordan have gotten Corbin's role on Raw? I hope not, because Jason Jordan was not that good of a talker. I'm not knocking your question, but Jason Jordan was not really that effective of a talker. Would he have been a heel? Oh, he would have been a tremendous heel, because he would have been easily hateable, and he could have actually backed it up in the ring. Unlike Corbin, who's 50-50 in the ring, in my opinion. But he could have, I think that role would have flamed out. I think it was doomed to fail. It would have been interesting to see where it went. But I think even if he hadn't gotten injured, I think they already doomed him from the start. I don't think it would have worked out ultimately. He probably would have gotten Corbin's role instead. I don't know if Jason Jordan would have gotten... He would have gotten less go-away heat than Corbin does, because Jason Jordan doesn't really bore me nearly as much. He can back it up in the ring. Corbin, less so. But yeah, he might have gotten the role. I don't know if it would have worked out as well, but he would have gotten the role. And let's see, who are some WWE talents that you would think would do well with a fresh start in AEW? Mickie James, Alicia Fox, The Revival. And the reason I'm throwing on Mickie James and Alicia Fox, Mickie could do well because she's not being used at all. Alicia, she's been in WWE for a number of years. Fresh coat of paint could actually help her out really, really well. I'm not saying that WWE should get rid of her, but they're not going to use her and she can do well there. I think would be absolutely tremendous. The Revival, for sure. I think they could have some great matches. I would like to see Chad Gable do well, and Apollo Crews do well there. I can't pick too many because I don't want to take just a ton of, WWE, ex-WWE talents and put them over there. Balor, I think, could be like Prince Devitt. If he went over there, he could be a heel instead of doing what he's doing now. Even though I heard he's naturally a nice guy, he could just be such a great heel. And they don't want to let him be a heel. He would do so goddamn well. I hate to say it, but I think put the Hardys over there. I think the Hardys could do a lot for the AEW tag team division. But the ones I mentioned before would probably be the ones that I would throw out there. It wouldn't be too many, but I could cherry pick a few. I wouldn't mind seeing Matt Riddle in AEW, only because I think his style might actually fit more over there. Even though I'm happy to see, because he seems to love being in WWE, I think Riddle would actually fit well in AEW. And we get to other questions actually by BSG 103079. Do you think social media would have killed the Monday Night Wars before they started? Would AEW be better off if they tried to hire Joey Styles? I also just wanted to add that the Cody Dustin promo would have made Dusty proud. That would have made Dusty proud. I'm sure he was smiling 100%. Social media would have absolutely killed the Monday Night Wars, and I would have hated it. It would have been fucking rotten. No doubt about that. Much as I knocked the Monday Night Wars, the fact that it was the lesser known stuff, the internet was around in the tail end of it and everything, like, 97, 98, 99, in 2000, 2001, before, like, the wars all ended. But it wasn't like it was now. If the Monday Night Wars were going on now, stuff would be leaked all this time and everything, the drama would be gone. Now, sometimes there are some surprises they can hold out. Hey, Mox showing up at the end of Double or Nothing, that was a pretty fucking big deal. But yeah, it would have killed off the Monday Night Wars, absolutely. AEW might have been better off hiring Joey Styles, I don't know if Joey Styles is still doing announcing, but just... and I don't know what his asking price would have been, but let's be honest, JR did fine in the Cody Dustin match and in a couple spots, but he did not need to be calling that whole show. They should have brought him out for Cody and Dustin, brought him out for the Omega Jericho match if you wanted to. Other than that, I hate to say it, leave him back there. I did not. Excalibur carried that freaking commentary team. I don't think Alex Marvez, or I think that's how you say his name, was that bad. I just don't quite fucking get why people think he was that bad. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't think he was nearly as bad as people were saying. Excalibur, though, carried that whole thing. But yes, Joey would have been more interesting. At least get him in for that night. At least have him and JR trade off on some stuff. I think Joey could have done pretty well. I mean, he's called 3-hour pay-per-views on his own. Like, I mean, granted, that was in the 90s and early 2000s. But still, he's a natural at it and would have done pretty well. We then get to Muggsy Sam's question. Karen, great, always great to talk to you. Do you think WWE responds at all to AEW on Raw or SmackDown or SmackDown Live? Should they respond? I think if they do, it's foolish because it gives AEW, some free advertising. Karen, you and I have both watched WWE long enough and watched wrestling long enough. They are going to respond. It's going to be petty and it's probably going to be pretty stupid. I mean, I'm not picking on you, but you know they're going to fucking respond. And it's going to be fucking ridiculous. It's going to be 100 fucking percent ridiculous. Should they respond? I'm going to use a Vince Russo quote that he said in the Monday Night Wars. If you're number one, you don't even acknowledge number two. They're not there. Is AEW on the rise? Yes. Can they maintain this momentum? Time will tell. I'll get into that question here in a little bit. But, yeah, they'll respond. Triple H will probably open the show and do something stupid. Because, of course, he will. Because his ego's fucking fragile. I mean, Triple H's ego is really goddamn fragile. I think, honest to God, if they don't respond on Raw and SmackDown, I will be shocked. Now, they will be plugging the hell out of Saudi Arabia show coming up soon. So, who knows what the fuck's going to happen. But it's going to be pretty goddamn interesting, to see what they do. But it's also going to be pretty stupid. And I'm going to get into the whole thing about the shots that AEW took at them. But yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet that they're going to respond. And it's going to be bullshit. So, we got Valena WWE. Great live reaction videos you did, by the way, for Double or Nothing. A couple Double or Nothing matches. You got 8 questions here. These will be pretty easy to answer, though, so I'll go into detail on as much of these as I can, since I got about 15 minutes left. But with AEW Double or Nothing being in the books, what do you think are some things they could do to, and forgive me, I write horribly, they could do differently to perfect their future pay-per-views? Example, better quality audio during the backstage interviews would be my choice. Don't have JR on every single commentary, on commentary for every single match. Maybe try to hire a big name announcer. I don't think Marvez and Excalibur were that bad. I think they're pretty good. I love Excalibur. He was damn good in a few New Japan shows I watched. And he was great on the All-In commentary. Yeah, better audio for backstage interviews and stuff like that, but you're going to have kinks and you're going to have stuff to work out like that. Pyro, go big or go home. I'm not saying have $100,000 just blown on every entrance, but the pyro, you got to work on the pyro a little bit. If you don't have good pyro, don't have pyro at all. Maybe get some better camera work, because sometimes the camera didn't quite catch things that they should have. The cameras were mostly fine, but other than that, there really isn't much I think they need to do. Just stay the course, try new things, while drawing in more people with the talent they have and the various different talents that they have on their show. I really think that's all they need to do. They just need to, to do that kind of stuff and work well and just keep things going, keep things rolling. Just work out the kinks, a few kinks like the one you mentioned and a couple that I mentioned, and just focus more on the ring. Yes, tell stories like with backstage interviews, but obviously if they don't do much scripting, if any scripting at all, and they just get bullet points, it's going to end up working out just fine. And then number 2, many people on wrestling Twitter are calling Cody petty for smashing that sledgehammer onto the throne during his entrance at Double or Nothing. Do you agree or disagree? I get what they're saying, but this is, if they think this shit's petty, you fuckers would have not survived. And I'm not saying you, Valena. I'm not saying you. I'm saying the people calling it petty. And this actually ties into something I was talking to with BSG 103079 and a couple others, actually, earlier before I posed this question, before I posed this, hashtag Ask for Honesty episode. If people think that this shit's petty and that, AEW shouldn't be sniping WWE, or, WWE shouldn't be sniping AEW, going back to the whole pissing contest between the fans because they're fucking babies and everything, instead of wanting both motherfucking companies to succeed, maybe that might actually be a good thing if more companies succeed so talents can have more places to go, the wrestling fans have more options, and hey, wrestling as a whole gets better. God, imagine that. WWE ups their game because all these companies are rising up. Because WWE nationally, worldwide, is the biggest company. And I'm not just a shill for WWE. I'm not a shill at all. I'm just saying that the more companies that rise up, if AEW can help WWE elevate their game, great. Imagine that concept. Imagine being happy because another company's rising up. Imagine being even happy that Impact is doing some good things despite Disco Inferno being there and Don Callis still being on commentary and Michael Elgin being there. I still wish nothing but the best, especially for their knockouts, their killer knockouts division. And they really need to get this whole thing with Disco Inferno over like really, really quickly because it's embarrassing. It's not like Andy Kaufman wrestling women because Andy Kaufman respected wrestling and did good for wrestling. Disco never did. But I digress. Cody, yes, he was petty. Cody has a right to be petty. He's trying to focus on his own thing. It could affect the company if he lets his ego get out of control, which kind of ties into your second part. Do you feel that Cody gets too wrapped up with trying to outdo WWE that he loses focus on the end goal, which is promoting AEW to be a massive alternative promotion for wrestling fans? I think it's too early to be giving jabs. I don't think it's too early to be giving a couple jabs. Too many jabs? I totally agree with what you're saying, and I agree they should not be giving out that many jabs. But honestly, after that stuff at the Hall of Fame, and I don't mind jabs going back and forth between the company as long as it's good-natured ribbing and it's not like saying, hey, I wish your wife gets, assaulted and that kind of stuff, or, oh, God forbid if something bad happened to your wife. Just bad stuff like that is what I'm saying. Like Triple H saying that about Cody's wife, or Cody saying that about Stephanie, or something like that. As long as it doesn't get to like that kind of point. I'm sorry to bring wives into it. I'm just trying to, I'm pulling something out of like thin air and everything, or out of my ass, basically, is to like going too far. As long as the ribbing, the good-natured stuff doesn't go too far, then I don't really see an issue with it. I think it's going to be perfectly fine to take some jabs. Now, AEW needs to focus on being their own thing, their upcoming pay-per-views, special events that they're doing. They have enough time to lay the groundwork, because they have an August pay-per-view coming up. It's called All Out. One day, prior, one day prior to the year, however it's said, that All In happened. Obviously All In was a completely different show, but it was the groundwork for All Elite Wrestling, sort of. I think they have time to set stuff up. If they keep taking jabs, if it gets overbearing, it is going to turn some fans off. But there is an audience to take jabs at WWE because WWE's been doing it and been the head honcho for so many years, well over a decade. In the US, at least, they kind of did it to themselves. Now, I'm not saying the talents necessarily. And it's actually going to tie into another question. But I think Cody was petty? Sure, but did I find it funny? I found it absolutely fucking hilarious. I lived through the Monday Night Wars where Bischoff was giving away results on, TV for Raw, and where they did the Billionaire Ted skits and all that stuff on Raw, and that was shit. Where, let me rephrase that. Bischoff gave the results of Raw away on Nitro. I can't word these things right at all. But tying in the whole thing about jabs and talents, thoughts on Cody throwing shade to Bayley in order to put over his generic female babyface and Kylie Ray. I don't know if I agree with generic, but I'm not disagreeing with your take, but that's my opinion. I felt it was incredibly unnecessary. You don't have to put down one woman in order to lift another woman up. Now that I agree with, and that was pretty bad. Now I don't know what the exact meaning behind his words were. I don't know if he has anything against Bayley, if it just came across that way. I did hear the words, so I don't know what his actual intent was. It didn't sound good. And Kylie Ray is not as well known to a vast majority of an audience like Bayley is. But yes, he didn't need to take that shot because smiling Kylie Ray, I think I'm very interested to see what her character can do. I had heard of her before. No, there was no need to take a shot at Bayley. Take a shot at how she's been presented? Sure. Take a shot at that. But don't take a shot at the actual woman herself. But again, you want to differentiate yourself. If you're going to be asked questions about WWE, then, he's going to answer those questions. He's not going to hold back. And who can blame him? I mean, he was Stardust for like 3 fucking years. Well, 3 fucking years. No, about 3, actually. And it was fucking embarrassing. And it was embarrassing because it didn't need to happen. I don't blame him for being upset. He shouldn't have taken the shot at Bayley. Take a shot again at how she was presented, but not like, the woman herself. Because by all accounts, the woman herself seems very, very nice. So I agree he should not take an S shot. And then her fourth question, who are some talents that impressed you in the Casino Battle Royal? For me, it was Luchasaurus and MJF. It's clear that AEW will be building around MJF sooner than later. Funny you mentioned both of those because I saw him at a couple Defy Northwest wrestling shows. Luchasaurus was ridiculous. MJF, if that guy isn't one of the best talkers in wrestling, period, right now, I would like you to tell me, if he's in your top 5. Because if he's not in your top 5, ooh, boy, I mean, I really want to hear your top 5 because I'm sorry, that guy is fucking money. Now, in the ring, he's decent. He's not great, but he doesn't need to be because he can get so much good goddamn heat. That stuff he said to Brett. Oh, Brett, watch out, there's a fan rushing the ring. Or something like that. That was great stuff. MJF, I love MJF. I never got a chance to actually meet him at either of the Defy shows that I went to, which is unfortunate. I wanted to actually meet the guy. Maybe at some point he will make an appearance there, or AEW will run a show, and I can actually shake his hand and say, hey, thank you very much for entertaining us before you got here. But yeah, Luchasaurus, Sonny Kiss impressed me. Dustin Thomas, a guy with no legs, I mean, that was impressive. I was impressed. I liked Orange Cassidy's little, goofy thing, like where he did the little shin kick stuff. Jungle Boy was impressive. Jimmy Havoc, I love Jimmy Havoc, but I'd seen him wrestle before. I would say Luchasaurus and MJF actually impressed me the most. Hangman Page, I would say impressed me, but I saw his run in the G1 in New Japan last year, and Hangman impressed me from the first time I saw him. I could see him being a big star. So I'll agree with you, Luchasaurus and MJF. MJF to me impressed me the goddamn most. He was fucking star of that. That was just great stuff. But Luchasaurus is also very, very good. Question number 5. Do you think with AEW going to TV in just a few months that Tony Khan is going to put a lot of his young talent in acting classes so they can work the stick pretty decently before they go to live TV? Example, Britt Baker not being able to speak at all during the public general interviews for Double or Nothing after the post-show interview. It worries me because they're making her their Charlotte. I think that could be chalked up to nerves. I do get what you're saying. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world to put people through acting classes. But it really comes down to, is Tony Khan going to want to do that? Is Cody going to suggest it to Tony Khan? Like, hey, maybe we need to refine this. Let's get some stuff or whatever. Like, hey, let's get you guys more comfortable on camera. Because Britt Baker's been on TV before, but never on this big of a stage on pay-per-view. I mean, I think that could be said for most of the talents on here. Now, they've been on pay-per-views before, maybe not all of them, but most of them, or streaming services and that kind of stuff, but a lot of them, this was their big stage. Now, once again, I think it's chalked up to nerves. I want to say that's what it's chalked up to. If it gets to where it's clearly obvious that she is just gun-shy in interviews, post-match interviews or whatever, then yes, they need to work on that. Your idea about acting classes is certainly not bad, and they have enough time. They could pool the people that they were like, hey, you seem nervous. You want to talk about it and everything? Oh, well, I was just, nerve, this kind of stuff. Do you want to work on this? How do you need to work on this? Let's find a way to get your character working the absolute best. I think your idea is good, and I think they actually could make it work. I mean, I don't know if it will happen, but it could. And I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it. Especially if it needs to be, and if Britt honestly needs some help. I think she would be a woman enough to ask for that. Number 6, with the current positioning that AEW is in right now, do you think they have enough heavy hitters to compete with WWE, or do you think they need a few more bigger names? If so, who would you choose to sign? They're going to be an alternative to WWE. I'm not going to go with this competition thing. I'm not knocking you. I'm just not going to go with the competition thing. They're not going to compete with WWE right away. Will they get good ratings? Yes, they will get good ratings on TNT. TNT better hope they get good ratings. They better hope they get good ratings because TNT will can them within a year if they don't. Maybe 6 months. And then it'll be really bad. Unless they get the streaming service going, then they can get sponsors and stuff like that. They have enough heavy hitters to be an alternative. Compete. Get a guy like CM Punk. Work with other people. Get a guy for New Japan. Work with New Japan and get guys like Okada to come in for shots and everything and build up others and, maybe get some young up-and-coming talents. Get a guy like Chef. He's a guy from Defy Northwest Wrestling. He's really good. A guy like Cody Chun. who's somebody that I've seen Without a Cause and also Defy Northwest Wrestling, picked some indie talents from various places they picked. They picked one of the best wrestling referees, Aubrey Edwards. I know she's not a wrestler, but still, she's great. They can poach some talents, from indie shows or, indie promotions or work with them. But as far as big names, there aren't a ton of big names they really can sign unless they want to throw some big money and they can get, if they can get a guy like Seth Rollins to jump, but they can't because he's signed AJ Styles and the same thing. So unless they can get CM Punk or they can get others to come out of retirement, or, they can, they can just work with a bunch of other promotions. There aren't a bunch of big names. They got enough to be an alternative right now as far as compete. No, not yet. 7, do you think Vince will bury Peyton for expressing her support for AEW on Twitter? I think he will. Vince has buried people for less, so what do you think? Vince will probably bury her. Hopefully not. But if he buries her, he's going to have to bury Adam Cole, baby, for supporting Adam Cole's Lady, and various others. Big E even said, good luck to everybody in Redacted, and it was a pretty funny tweet. And other people were tweeting their support. I just think that Vince needs to, yes, promote WWE and everything if they're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by WWE. Another person they could AEW could bring in is Tenille Dashwood. I think she would be money. I don't know if she'd move the needle, but she's a damn good women's wrestler, damn good wrestler in general. They will probably punish her. I would not be surprised the Iconics lost the titles of Stomping Grounds and were just completely jobbed out after that, which means Billie Kay would be caught in the fire. I would hate it, but let's be honest, Vince has buried people for less. He has. And final question, and I'm sorry to rush through these, but I only got a couple minutes left. What are your thoughts on wrestlers blading in 2019? I was all for it until I noticed Dustin Blade way too deep. It really looked bad, and I'm surprised he didn't faint. I'm not a fan of it. I don't mind blood occasionally here and there, but I'm not a fan of it. Accidental blood, all that, but the blading. I saw Eddie Guerrero at Judgment Day 2004. He necked an artery in his head. He nearly died. What Dustin did was cool, but you can't do that too much. You got to be careful how you blade. Honestly, I would be very, very cautious of doing blading. Because even in the moment, even if you're professional, you could nick too deep and you could do what Dustin did and it could end really badly because you can't stop a match because of that. Even though they've stopped matches before in the NWA and all that stuff. So I'm not a fan of blading. I wouldn't necessarily do it if I was them. But anyway, that's what I have to say. I'm sorry to rush through the questions, but folks, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.